The Arab millionaire's laughter cut across the marble hole like a blade. But then Silence, the young man, son of a cleaning lady, looked him in the eye and whispered, "I speak 9 languages." In that moment the laughter died, and the room would never forget what followed. The laughter was sharp, echoing off the golden walls of the banquet hall. The Arab millionaire leaned back in his velvet chair, his voice full of mockery, his eyes turned toward a young man standing at the edge of the room. He had introduced himself quietly, with the dignity of someone used to being overlooked. But the moment he mentioned his mother cleaning laddie, the room seemed to crack open with contempt. The young man did not flinch. His suit was worn, not tailored. His shoes carried the dust of long walks rather than polished floors. Yet his gaze was steady, unshaken, as though he had walked through storms far worse than ridicule. And then came the words that stopped the laughter cold. "I speak 9 languages." The room shifted, chairs creaked, whispers froze, and for the first time, the millionaire blinked in disbelief. The son of the cleaner, he was not born in wealth. His mother scrubbed tiles and polished glass until her hands cracked, the scent of bleach and soap forever on her skin. She was invisible to those who walked past her, a shadow bending over buckets and floors. But to her son, she was a giant unshakable pillar of sacrifice. Every night after work, she would bring home books discarded from schools or offices. Some torn, some stained. She placed them on the kitchen table, and her son devoured them under the weak light of a single bulb. Words became his companions. Languages became his doorway out of silence. French from a faded novel. Spanish from a worn-out phrasebook. English from old newspapers. Russian, Italian, Mandarin, Arabic, German, and even Portuguese. Each language became a thread woven into his soul. While others mocked his silence, he was building an empire of words inside his mind. The backstory of Silence: as a child, he had stood in classrooms where his clothes set him apart. He remembered the sting of laughter, the smell of chalk, the feeling of sitting in the back row, unnoticed. Teachers often assumed he had nothing to offer. Friends avoided him, fearful of being judged by association. But his silence was not emptiness. It was preparation. He carried inside him the echoes of his mother's footsteps through endless hallways, the weight of her whispered prayers before bed, the burn of her tired smile as she said, "One day, you will rise higher than all of this." His life was built on sacrifice, on quiet nights of hunger, on mornings when he walked miles with shoes too small. Yet in every step, he carried dignity, the banquet hall of disrespect. Now he stood among marble columns and chandeliers, a place where money spoke louder than kindness. He had been invited not as a guest of honor, but as an afterthought, a token presence. The millionaire's laughter was not just about him, it was about every unseen worker, every mother bent over a mop. The crowd was silent, complicit, their eyes darting between the man of wealth and the son of a cleaner. No one defended him. No one spoke. Silence, once his shield, now pressed against him like a wall. And still, he did not tremble. His reply was not shouted, not defensive. It was calm, measured, devastating. "I speak 9 languages." The shift of power, the millionaire scoffed, expecting another reason to laugh. But the young man continued, switching tongues effortlessly. First French, smooth and lyrical. Then Spanish, warm and rolling. English followed, crisp and sharp. German, Italian, Russian. Each word carried with it the weight of mastery, spoken with ease that silenced every whisper. When he spoke Arabic, the very language of the man who had mocked him, the air grew heavy. The millionaire's face paled, his smirk collapsing into disbelief. Finally, the young man ended in Mandarin, the crowd frozen in awe, their silence transformed from complicity into reverence. Iconic quotes of silent dignity in the heavy pause that followed. The young man's voice carried like a quiet thunder. Never measure a person by the work of their hands. Measure them by the strength of their spirit. He lifted his gaze, no longer the invisible son of a cleaning lady, but a man whose dignity filled the hall. "My mother may clean floors, but she raised a son who can speak to the world." The millionaire's fall, the millionaire's hands fumbled with his glass, his laughter now a memory drowned by shame. No wealth could buy what he had just witnessed, discipline carved out of poverty, brilliance born from silence, respect commanded without demand. The crowd that once sat frozen began to rise. One by one, chairs scraped back. They stood, not for the millionaire, but for the son of the woman who cleaned their floors. Applause erupted, not loud and wild, but steady and powerful, like rain on rooftops. In that moment, power shifted. It was no longer the laughter of the wealthy that controlled the room. It was the quiet dignity of a son who had carried his mother as sacrifices like a crown. The climactic payoff. The millionaire lowered his head, his arrogance dissolved. For the first time, he understood that respect is not inherited through money, but earned through endurance. The young man stepped back, his silence returning not the silence of shame, but of strength. He needed no more words. The hall had seen enough. Crowds surrounded him, not with pity, but with admiration. He had transformed ridicule into reverence, contempt into honor. Reflection and moral resolution. The story of the son of the cleaner is not about languages alone. It is about unseen battles, about sacrifices made in silence, about dignity that cannot be mocked away. It is about every worker who bends in service, yet carries unshakable strength, about every son and daughter who rise from humble roots and remind the world that true wealth is not measured in money, but in resilience. And above all, it is about respect, something too often denied until it is too late. Respect the silent ones, the young man had shown without saying, for their silence may hold more power than the loudest laughter. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect. Where are you watching from? What does respect mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe stories like this should be heard around the world, make sure to subscribe for more tales of silent strength and unseen heroes. Because sometimes, the greatest victories are not shouted, they are spoken in silence. In 9 languages.